Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One, coming to you on Sunday, March the 26th, the year's 2023. Let's talk trading. Weekly open and gap. These videos are for educational purposes only. Your results may differ from mine. It's the last week of the month, so just a friendly reminder, risk management. Always have your risk management in place. Never lose more than you're willing to lose on any one given trade. I saw something they said, if you don't risk, you can't win. But if you lose all your money, if you don't manage that risk, then you can't play the game anymore. So you got to stay in the game. So let's go ahead and look at the weekly chart. As you can see, we are up 24 pips, the weekly open. We had gapped down, and according to the dashboard, all the gaps have filled. And that one particular, I was watching the pound right at 2 o'clock when it opened. There was no way you could get the gap because the spread was I think, bigger than the gap. So that was one that just wasn't tradable. Okay, we're putting in the opening range for the week. We're above the opening range for the year and the month, as you can see. And for the year, we're 156 pips, now 157 above the yearly open. We are within the inside bar from 4 days ago. So we've got a long trigger at 2282 and a short trigger at 2178 for those who are playing the daily inside bar. And we've got some action here. You can see on the dashboard that there are other inside bars to trade. Freddie, you trade the euro. Sorry, no inside bars there at the moment. And no pairs are over 100 pips. We're about 7.5 hours into the trading day here. Buy zone, you've had a couple opportunities to go long here. And you can see we're in the launch pad in the 2240s. So price has tried 50 or 49 a couple of times here. Let's see, that one was 49. This one actually broke 50, but both times they pulled back. So anybody getting short around that 50 area could have picked up a few pips. And the rat zone. We don't have enough range for the rat zone at the moment. Looks like we've already taken out the weekly pivot and the daily pivot. Bambino Flex indicator says go short, and the pivot trading plan says short at the pivot, which looks like it worked one time, and short at R1. We haven't quite gotten there yet. Took out that daily pivot for today. We've taken out the weekly pivot. And we took out the monthly pivot a long time ago. So last full trading week of the month here of March. Okay, we are in and out of that lower wick zone from the previous trading day. Range, nothing to speak of. Nothing much has changed here from Friday. And this week, Walmall won't be joining us. He's on vacation again, and hopefully he recovers. He is really under the weather, so I wish him full and speedy recovery. And when we look at our price action simple chart here, looking at the M30, actually let's just go back to the H1. And now I know what's going on. I had made a slight modification to the inside bar multimeter, and for some reason a couple things aren't showing on the chart here. That's why we can't see the that was the multimeter. Let's look at, actually it's the in and out indicator. Let's take those off and let's see, there we go. So right now we looks like we either need to break the previous low, or the low of the previous H1 bar, or the high to get out of this trading range here. If you drop down, you can see it's kind of been ranging. We're right there at the H1 open. We'll just have to wait and see which way this thing breaks. Looking at the highest low, lowest high with the 3-level ZZ, with the resistance and support lines put in, you can see we've had a couple of 3 balls show up for resistance, once again between 49 and 50. And just taking these trades. We're on the 5-minute chart here. And you know, it's one thing's really interesting. You know, we've been talking a lot about psychology and about trading. And, you know, we talked, there's a lot of waiting. But you see, in between trades, after you exit a trade and before you enter a trade, that's a time where you need to maybe look away from the screen, stretch, maybe even go for a little walk or something, just to recharge your batteries. It's really important. And I've been doing that the past week or so, because I noticed that what happens is, as soon as I get out of trade, I'm just really ready to just get right back in the action. And sometimes it's better just to, you know, sit out a trade or two. Just let things happen. And then when you're in the trade, sometimes you just have to trust. And what you have to do, we talk about risk, we talk about stop losses, but you really have to be willing to lose. In other words, what I mean by that is, you have to say, you know what? I'm not going to win every trade. To think that is just futile, and that I am really okay with taking a loss. Now, I know that might sound counter, but see, the thing about the loss is, it's not the loss that matters, because as we've said before, you know, it's not the market that causes you pain, it's your reaction. And so if you react and you get upset because you lost a trade, you really have to think about that. It's just like, you have to learn to take it in stride and realize it's just part of a bigger process, because your trading career, your portfolio should not depend on the trade that you are in. It really shouldn't. And if it does, then something is definitely wrong when you think about it. So you really, really, really have to be okay with taking that loss. Like I said, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it's just something that you have to learn to control your emotions, your reactions, because if you don't let it bother you, go, okay, well, that trade didn't work out. Is there anything I can learn from it? Because sometimes even Walmart said in the last week he had taken a trade and he actually think it happened to him twice. Everything lined up. And then he got in the trade and it just went against him. He had to take a loss or he had to trade his way out of it. It's just one of those things that's inevitable. I mean, it doesn't matter how many systems or methods you come up with. Because once you put the trade on, that all you have to put that aside. It's now managing the money. It's managing the trade. And a lot of times you have to just say, you know what? I believe that when price comes down and puts in a one ball on the bottom, that eventually it's going to put in a one ball on the top, or a two ball, or maybe even a three ball. And you just have to be willing to say, you know what? If I put this trade on right here, right now, if I put this trade on, I might say, you know what? It's at the 40. Right here is at 29. Maybe I'll say, if it drops here, maybe I'll lose 12 pips on the trade. And just be okay with it if that happens. Because you know how price likes to hit the launch pad, except especially when it moves up from the bottom and hits that launch pad, it likes to run up to 60. It's already had 2 tries at the 50. And sometimes, 3 is a charm, sometimes 4 is a charm. And that's just what you do. But you can see here, the spread is almost 2 pips. It's kind of on the high side. It's not the best time to trade. But if I were to make that trade, that's what I have to do. That's how you make the pips. Or that's one way of making pips. Is you put that trade on, and then you just let the market do what the market does. So 541 pips on the month. We're still under the monthly ATR, so we got about another 100 pips to go if it's going to hit it this month. Once again, the semaphore trade. Somebody asked me about something on one of these trades. They want to know about the state changes. Like that indicator isn't ready to distribute. It'll probably come out in either batch 4 or batch 5. I just sent out batch 3 last week with a couple of scanners like I promised the traders. So I had to make good on that promise. So fellow traders, I hope you have a good week this week. I hope you had a fun and safe weekend. And I hope you end the month profitably with lots of pips in the bank. Because remember, it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. So go out there and drain the banks. This is the Rumpled One, over and out.